I hate summer event books. I truly, truly hate them. Why do I hate them if I don't collect many monthly titles from either Marvel or DC? Well, it's because such event books have a splash effect on other titles, placing bits of story here and there, demanding that the average comic book consumer buy them all, along with the main event book, just to get the entire story. It's an awful lot of money for people to spend on a storyline that should be confined to one book. In fact, what I found so refreshing about Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti's run on Power Girl was that it was entirely self-contained. When you went to pick up this book, you never had to worry about the cover proclaiming Power Girl, Blackest Night, Power Girl, Brightest Day, Power Girl, Civil Marvel Zombie War Skrull Invasion. Although actually that'd be kind of cool. It was just fun, super heroic, and a pure joy to read. If a touch on the cheesecakey side. But at least it was a cheesecake that understood human anatomy. FlashPoint, on the other hand, continues on that same tired old path of drawing in titles from all around to make a wide, sweeping storyline that will no doubt drain the wallets of those who want to follow along. As for what FlashPoint is about, well, it's a story about the original Flash, Barry Allen, what with Wally West and his icky Asian wife and her mixed racial kids just swept under the rug somewhere, waking up one day and will find himself in a world where he never came to be. Thanks due in part to the machinations of Professor Zoom, who is an anti-Flash from the future. The world without a Flash, or more specifically Barry Allen, is quite different than the one that fans of DC know. And apparently this is a very bad thing. Why? When DC Universe has been getting along just fine without Barry Allen until the events of Blackest Night resurrected him? Well, DC was nice enough to provide us with a map, so let's take a look at it, shall we? As you can see, a whole lot has changed with just one mighty whitey gone. With Brazil under Nazi control, Alaska being the land of zombies, Britain is now New Themyscira, and oh hey, Africa is ape-controlled. No, I'm not kidding. Apparently someone thought it was a good idea to label Africa as ape-controlled. To add a bit of clarification, in this new timeline, Gorilla Grodd, if you excuse the pun, long-time running nemesis of the Flash, has taken over Africa. This by no means excuses the labeling of the continent as ape-controlled. Ape has long been used as a racist insult against black people since the first European landed there. I could figure this out after 10 seconds on Google. 10 seconds on Google. So what's your excuse, DC? Or why couldn't DC have put a subtitle like Controlled by Gorilla Grodd underneath Africa? In fact, let's take this one step further and ask why Africa has to be controlled by anyone at all. It is the largest continent on Earth with a population of over 1 billion, according to statistics I read on Wikipedia. So they should have superheroes of their own to defend against one sentient ape with super science and telepathy. What about Vixen, who can channel the power of various animals? In an early issue of Birds of Prey, she defended herself against telepathy by channeling the stubbornness of an ape. To be fair, DC did change the FlashPoint map. Let's take a look, shall we? Oh, damn it. Twilight Sparkle, help a guy out, won't you? However, that's not the end of it. Why? Because with this event, DC is rebooting everything. And by everything, I do mean everything. Just like in Crisis on Infinite Earths, which reset the DC universe, allowing writers to start it from scratch, FlashPoint is doing the same with 51 titles starting at new at issue number 1. Now, this isn't such a bad idea. Marvel initially had a lot of success with their Ultimate lineup. allowing the 616 universe that we all know and love to remain while starting up a whole new universe. It was a great way of bringing in new fans and modern views to superheroes who had started off in the 60s fighting against evil Soviet Russian communist submarines, as well as supervillains. Where DC is screwing up is that this is not going to be a separate continuity, an Elseworlds, or anything of the like. This is the main continuity, and it looks like it's going to be here to stay. That means some rather unfortunate things are going to be happening to some of our favorite superheroes. For example, Barbara Gordon is going to be Batgirl once more. This isn't progress, it's regression. It wasn't until I heard of this that I realized that FlashPoint was to DC what Brand New Day and One More Day was to Spider-Man. Despite the idiocies of the Killing Joke, it did allow other writers to come in and reinvent Barbara Gordon as Oracle, a disabled superhero who is a massive heavy hitter in the DC universe, and who many members of the cape-wearing community come to rely upon for trustworthy, reliable information. She turned from a victim of bad writing, not to mention the Joker, to a powerhouse in her own right under the penmanship of the unfortunately homophobic Chuck Austin, and then the mega awesome Gail Simone, and DC is taking that away from her. Heck, some of my compatriots are mighty annoyed, to put it mildly, that the mantle of Batgirl was taken away from Cassandra Cain and given to Stephanie Brown, who already had her own superhero identity, and all because Bruce Wayne said so. In short, for no good reason whatsoever. I guess we can add Cassandra Cain to the list of Asians that DC doesn't want around, a list including Leanne Harper and Ryan Choi. It's downright enraging when we have people like Dan DiDio, who on usatoday.com said, and I quote, "We've got a new set of creators coming in with new voices in the DC universe. We really want to bring a new energy and excitement to our books." Really? Then we have Bob Wayne, Senior Vice President of Sales, who wrote in a letter to retailers. And he wrote, and I quote once more, "In addition, the new number ones will introduce readers to a more modern, diverse DC universe, with some character variations in appearance, origin, and age. All stories will be grounded in each character's legend, but will relate to real-world situations, interactions, tragedy, and triumph." And then we get this. I count 5 white guys, 1 black guy, 1 woman. So unless DC puts out a letter saying that some of those guys on the team, most notably the white guys, are gay, I don't consider this very diverse at all. Hell, at this rate, the Super Friends cartoon from the late 70s were more diverse, and the minorities on that team were horrible cultural stereotypes dressed up in tights. I guess DC didn't want to have an agenda by having more than 1 black guy on the team, which the late great Dwayne McDuffie talked about in an interview a long time ago.
Oh, I think being a writer that the reader knows is black puts a lot of the mainstream, I say mainstream, I mean white readership on edge. I mean white male readership on edge. They're really looking for some proof that I'm trying to, the phrase I get all the time is I'm always trying to shove my agenda down their throat, which seems sexually charged to me. I don't know.
I highly recommend you check out the entire interview. It's very enlightening. I would also like to point out that this kind of setup, where you have 1 black guy on the team, is not exactly restricted to superhero comics alone, as we've seen it before in television series such as the A-Team, Stargate, and even the original Star Trek, the original series. However, the difference between this new Justice League, which is supposed to be diverse, and the original Star Trek series was that the original Star Trek series was in the 60s, and back then it was progressive. It is 2011. The United States has Barack Obama, the first black President of the United States, the election of whom shattered the world's largest glass ceiling, and in a country where slavery was legal a mere 146 years ago. That's fucking progressive. This new Justice League isn't. So if, in the real world, a black man can be elected to the most powerful office in the most powerful country on the face of the planet, why can't a fictional team of superheroes offer a more diverse cast of characters with different orientations, ethnicities, and characteristics? The times. Get with them, DC. Finally, we get to Wonder Woman in this new timeline, and it's equally as stupid as the current one, where she's a vengeance-seeking princess with an outfit drawn by Jim Lee, written by John Michael Straczynski, and it's inspired to acts of heroism only after she sees Superman be heroic. Does anyone remember when Amazons attack? We all do, even those of us who haven't read it, and that's because it was a steaming pile of crap. I know, because I watched Atop the Fourth Wall, where Linkara, being the brave soul that he is, reviewed it for us in order to show us just how truly insipid, stupid, and moronic the whole thing was. Apparently, no one at DC listened, because in FlashPoint, Wonder Woman, leading the Amazons, is locked in a war with the Atlanteans, the result of which has flooded large portions of Europe and northern Africa. Because when I think Wonder Woman, I think of a murderous leader of a band of independent women who would go to war for no discernible reason and are completely devoid of empathy or compassion for others. No, I haven't heard all the details just yet, but I find it mighty insulting that just because one mighty whitey straight guy, who was already dead for the longest time, wasn't around, that the characterizations of some characters get changed so massively. John Michael Straczynski's recharacterization of Wonder Woman was garbage to begin with, it's garbage still, and I have very little faith that it's going to be nothing but garbage in the future. I also have very little hope when I see covers like this. Between this, the regression of Barbara Gordon to Batgirl, a lack of truly diverse characters, and more Silver Age white guys getting the limelight, it's no wonder I feel nothing but contempt for this summer event. I know I'm not a regular customer of DC's monthly titles, as I love their animated features more than anything else, but this has turned me off from the company on a whole. Frankly, I have only one thing left to say before I sign off. Dirt behooves, do me the honor.
It's another new crisis, the world's gonna burn, will the heroes unite us? I'm not sure I even really care anymore. Following along now feels like a chore. Countdown to Civil War, 52 changes, a green world war and a secret invasion. I don't wanna stop, but it's wearing me out. You and me know this is not what it's all about. We've been dedicating life.